that's cheating. No. It's time to take a wild ride back to the past. Sit back and relax and enjoy this episode of Memory Lane. This table can only mean one thing. We're going to be playing something crazy here on Memory Lane. We got the Game.com. That's probably not a good sign. With Game.com, we're going to be checking out Fighter Megamix on the Game.com, as you can see right there. Fighter Megamix, the Sega Saturn game, ported over to the Game.com. It's definitely probably a recipe for disaster. We're going to have to check this out. I have to pop this in and see exactly what we're dealing with here. I guess it goes in the other way. Alright. Are you ready for the fancy Game.com introduction? Let's check it out here. Got the fancy Game.com thing right there. See if we can adjust the contrast a little bit so that we can see. This is touchscreen, so we have to actually touch the screen right there to get the game started. Data found. Really? I guess we're going to keep the data? What the hell is that all about? I have never seen that before. Okay, let's try that again. Alright, the game is starting. That was bizarre. I've never seen that before. That's kind of interesting. Alright, so here we are. Get this camera to actually do what I want it to do. We have a Fighter Megamix introduction right here. I'm going to push A to start the game. I had to play with the camera a little bit there to see if we could stay focused. We have a one-player mode. Somehow we have a versus mode. I'm guessing that somewhere on here you can link up these consoles. Is it on top? Or well, maybe these actually link up. Well, there's a COM port right here, but I thought that was for a modem. I have no idea. And there's a survivor mode. Let's choose a one-player mode for now. You have the god-awful looking select screen right there. You can barely see what. Of course, the screen on this thing is awful. Okay, so we have Akira, Pi, Lion, and Jackie right there. Let's choose one of the characters right here just for the hell of it. And each screen here is a little hard to see, but let's see if we can choose course number or course letter A, that is. Okay, so this is a Sega. Well, I guess this is for your block button right here. Let's see how good this is. I don't know. I never played this before on the Game.com. This is interesting. And one thing that you're probably going to notice is all Game.com games have a very, very sluggish frame rate. Okay, somehow I got hit and I died. And much like most Game.com games, the audio is distorted. Let's see if we can get the screen to cooperate here. Is this a I don't know. This is weird. I never thought I'd be playing Fighter Megamix on a handheld. And the sprites actually look pretty good, and I can see the background. They tried to make the background kind of look 3D, even though it's not. It's actually pretty cool. So I kind of like how they did that. The controls are actually, surprisingly, they're not bad. They're not terrible. And this little D-pad over here kind of resembles a Saturn or Genesis. It's not as good as the Saturn or Genesis by all means, but let's try this out one more time here. So yeah, this is Fighter Megamix on the Game.com, not the Sega Saturn. And it's I don't know what to say about this game. It's definitely not as good as the Sega Saturn version, of course, but how can it possibly be as good as the Saturn version? But for a handheld version of the game, I was expecting worse, I guess. It's playable. It's not awful. I really thought they have all the moves from the Sega Saturn version of the game. Honestly, I don't know all the controls on this game. So yeah, that's Fighter Megamix on the Game.com. And one thing that's interesting about Game.com is it has the little Saturn logo right there in the center. I always wondered, because there was a few Sega Saturn games that popped up on Game.com, or Sega games. I wonder if they purposely put the Saturn logo there just to have that little tie with the Sega Saturn. And of course, you have the Fighter Megamix introduction right here. It sounds like I'm getting a cold. What the hell is going on here? This game that comes to make me sick. Like, literally sick. And also, you have a survivor mode here. And it's like in survivor mode, you can choose a few different characters. And the screen on this particular Game.com sucks, just so you know. I'm pretty sure you kind of figured that out by now. Yeah, whatever. I have no idea what the hell I did, but... Oh, look! They have Hornet from Daytona, USA. That is awesome. Look at that. That is cool. Okay, this game wins me over just for trying. This game definitely tries to be the Sega Saturn version. It's not nearly as good, but for a little handheld version, I kind of like it. I think I get a kick out of it. It's not good at all, but the fact that they have Hornet in the game, man, that is cool. Let's see if we can beat the crap out of him. One thing that will make it better is if they have Pepsi Man from the Sega Saturn version. From the Japanese Sega Saturn version, that is. It's definitely not in the American version. Alright, so basically in survival mode, you have to continuously keep going straight forward to try to beat up as many guys as possible. Yeah. So that's... Let's see if we can stop the game right here. That's Fighter Megamix. Rated E for everyone on the Game.com. It's an interesting portable adaptation of the Sega Saturn version of the game. It actually is not too bad. It's okay. Would I recommend it? I mean, most people don't recommend this handheld at all. I would probably, if you can find this cheap, and if you're collecting Game.com games, the game is okay. There's really no really good Game.com game, to be honest. So every game on the Game.com is impressive in its own rights. Like, there's definitely interesting adaptations for Game.com, like the Duke Nukem game. There's also Mortal Kombat Trilogy, which I'm not sure if I have the game over there, but I'm not sure if I made a video on that one yet. This is an okay game. It's not the greatest, it's not awful. I've seen worse fighting games on Game Boy and Game Gear. So yeah, good job Game.com. You have a decent, okay fighting game. It's not bad. If you enjoyed this episode of Memory Lane, don't forget to give a thumbs up and comment down below.